Hey there, everybody. It's 7:30 p.m. on the 23rd of October in 2021, and we're starting episode 53 of Cast Talks. So welcome back. Well, howdy there, Playful. Cast Talks is a little show we do on Saturdays, where you can hang out and chat, or listen to some good news, or just a couple of things that I'm thinking about while doing chores, or reading, or laying down, or really anything. And we do this for about 2 hours. Next episode, episode 54, is going to be our 1-year anniversary on Halloween. I feel a bit wistful and nostalgic for the first episode, thinking about where it started and where it came from. I wasn't sure when exactly, the first person might think about donating or might think about doing something like that, but I thought about what it means to me for people to appreciate that. Yeah, we'll be streaming together on Halloween. Mostly be going over Halloween memories on that day and the day before. I think we'll be doing something interesting for that. But I've been thinking about what it means to work hard and what it means to love something that you do and love how you do it. Loving the process of creation, loving the process of being in a situation, right? So, tonight's topic will be about a few things. We are going to do good news, like always, but there's a couple of things that I am thinking about that I'll get off my chest. When I was a very young man, I never really knew how to commit to anything. It was never really taught to me, and I never seemed to understand what that meant and what it meant to be loyal to a cause or to a feeling or to really anything. And doing this show for you kind and fine folk, every now and again it scares me. It scares me that I've devoted myself to all of this, to all of you. And there's a cold frisson down my back when I think of it. It's a wind and an ice of change. I don't really know where it comes from or how to respond to it. But what I do know is that it's always led me somewhere new. Led me somewhere interesting or into the future, into the world beyond. which is where I desire to go. I suppose it's just sometimes on the way there you can feel a little bit afraid of what's coming ahead. And a year is certainly a long time to be spending on anything, let alone something that can do so much good. It is tough though sometimes to work towards something and not know really where it might lead or where it might take you. It's a strange thing. Bizarre. I know that I don't understand it. You don't have to understand something to take advantage of it though. And that's how I feel now, is I will take advantage of it regardless of if I know what it is or how it works. But I might still be scared, you know? It's easy to just be one guy sitting here speaking to the internet, hoping that my message can mend a heart or provide companionship to a lonely soul. I only wish I could be there in those moments. You know, when I can transform somebody's awful day into a short trip to heaven. As short as 2 hours can be, maybe less. I want to be there and see that moment for myself. I guess it's one thing that I crave is, you know, that form of returnal, is seeing it for myself. But enough about that. This week, I have been working pretty hard to exercise, been working pretty hard to do the things that a young man is supposed to do to keep healthy. That includes making a lot of tofu at the moment. I've held a steady diet for a little while, but of course anybody might feel that a diet isn't for them or isn't necessarily doing the right thing. But for a long time, I've felt this desire to be an example in whatever way I can be. I feel it is example worthy to want to exercise and to become better. Especially considering my roots, where I come from being a gamer and so many other gamers don't seem to have grasped that improvement mentality. But it's easy not to. You know, it's easy not to. Because why would you want that if you are satisfied with, you know, where you are and satisfied with just playing video games? You know, it can seem like it's a lot of bother, which it is a bother, but being in good shape has its own rewards. I'd like to be in good shape and not just play a character who's in good shape. That's something I think about. But we'll move on to our good news, just for now. I hope that you've had a lovely week, though. Playful. I hope that you've been doing all right and that you're feeling okay. So, our first good news story is, it's been all right. Not much going on, really. I hope that isn't discouraging for you. My Goodness Network from October the 16th. Well, good. Ralph Lauren gives competitors new ways to dye cotton, and it uses 90% less chemicals, 40% less energy, and half the water. Every year, trillions of liters of water are used for fabric dyeing alone, generating around 20% of the world's wastewater. Untreated, it is incredibly polluting. So it requires rigorous, lengthy, and costly treatment to make the water reusable once more. Recently, Ralph Lauren brought together 4 leading innovators, including DOW, to develop a way to significantly reduce the amount of water, chemicals, and energy needed to color cotton by enabling up to 90% fewer processing chemicals, 50% less water, 50% less dye, and 40% less energy, without sacrificing color or quality. The Color On Demand system uses a set of technologies that will enable the recycling and residue reuse of all the water from the dyeing process to establish the world's first scalable zero wastewater cotton dyeing system. In addition to significant water savings, Color On Demand dramatically reduces the amount of chemicals, dyes, time, and energy used in the cotton dyeing process. Most importantly, the system utilizes the current dyeing equipment already in factories. If we want to protect our planet for the next generation, we have to create scalable solutions that have never been considered before. This requires deep and sometimes unexpected collaboration and willingness to break down the barriers of exclusivity, said Khalid Al-Alagos, Chief Product and Sustainability Officer at Ralph Lauren. According to a company statement, to implement its groundbreaking approach, Ralph Lauren brought together 4 innovators in their respective fields, including DOW, a leader in material sciences, Genealogia, a leader in sustainable solutions for garment and fabric finishing, with high expertise in garment dyeing and closed-loop water treatment systems. With high expertise, Huntsman Textile Effects was brought in, a global chemicals company specializing in textile dyes and chemicals, and Coreb, a global technology leader in dispensing and mixing solutions, to reimagine each stage of the coloring process and join this shared mission to create a more sustainable and efficient system for cotton dyeing. As part of the first phase of Color On Demand, Ralph Lauren has optimized the use of EcoFast, pure sustainable textile treatment, which is a pre-treatment solution. And they worked with World Wildlife Fund to accelerate change of the fashion industry's outdated practices, and at a scale that matters. This month, the companies have jointly released a detailed open source manual to create an even more meaningful, positive environmental impact. The co-developed step-by-step manual details how to use EcoFast Pure, a cationic cotton treatment developed by DOW that utilizes already existing dyeing equipment. Ralph Lauren began integrating color on demand into its supply chain earlier this year and first launched products utilizing EcoFast Pure as a part of the company's Team USA collection for the 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games in Tokyo. You can download the manual and learn more about EcoFast Pure here, and I'll send you guys the link in case you're interested. Within 3 years, the Ralph Lauren brand aims to use the Color on Demand platform to dye more than 80% of its solid cotton products. Here's one by Good News Network. Cardboard boxes turned into incredible haunted house model for Halloween. An industrial designer in Mexico recorded a time-lapse video showing how he used shipping boxes, corrugated cardboard, and art supplies to build a spooky model for Halloween. In the video, I'm using an Amazon box, corrugated cardboard, clay, and some trash to make a haunted mansion. We're going to take a look right now. I do like the use. I got my flu shot on Thursday. The Haunted Mansion. And I feel really good about my time there. I feel really good about how everything went along and how I was able to have a good time despite having so many issues in the past. No, I don't like that music. It's just tough for me, though. Sometimes everything can feel like a problem or an issue, and I had to fight through a lot of that. But I was there with my mom at a Walgreens, just there for the flu shot. And they were very nice people there as well. We almost left without paying, but I managed to remember at the last moment to do that, along with the thanks of one of the staff members, which I found to be worth it alone. It's strange how much things have changed in my life. I guess a lot can happen in 1 year. Alright, we'll move on to our next one after we see the ending result for this one. Yeah, seems good. Here is another one. California vineyards that once used only toxic chemicals to prevent vines now use nesting owls. Napa Valley vintners are increasingly turning towards winged laborers for their pest control and away from super toxic pesticides that poison everything, including their wine. Barn owls in particular, but also hawks and other birds of prey known as raptors, are being welcomed onto vineyards across California for their skill in rat catching, vole estation, and gopher gobbling. And scientists studying the impact of these strategies are finding encouraging results. For years, vintners in California were proud of the certain je ne sais quoi inherent in their wines, which made Napa a world-class destination for growing grapes. They were super toxic, using super toxic rodenticides, a type of poison used to kill the mice and voles that munch on vines. The poison had become an industry standard in the state up until the 1980s, when raptors trapping and other more holistic methods became more popular. According to the nonprofit Napa Green, a trend toward chemical-free farming statewide is reflected in the threefold increase of organic wine grape acreage since 2005, with the number of organic acres doubling in just the last decade. One of the world's most efficient pest controllers is the barn owl, which is found on 6 of our 7 continents, and is capable of eating 3,400 rodents each year. Matt Johnson is a wildlife professor at Humboldt State, who began a program years ago to study raptor pest control in vineyards and research the results. A survey by graduate student Brooks Estes found that 4/5 of the 75 California grape growers purposefully invite owls onto their property by constructing nest boxes. We're working mainly in Napa Valley, where there are over 300 barn owl nest boxes. Johnson wrote, "You can literally put a barn owl nest box in the exact location where you think you have a problem with small mammals. The owls will start using that area." Johnson and his graduate students have found that barn owls like their boxes to sit at least 9 feet off the ground, face away from the sun, adjacent to grassy fields, and preferably far from forested acres. Early surveys suggest that it's now possible for vintners to use barn owls and even more than traps and pesticides. But how much pesticide use was avoided in favor of owls is still not yet known. All incentives are there. However, because using owls is much less expensive than trapping, 26 cents per rodent versus $8.11, it's also helping a beautiful group of species to thrive. Ventura County uses birds, including hawks, falcons, and owls, instead of rodenticides, across nearly 100 dams and valleys. As the rodents burrowing can damage the structures, Ventura County Watershed Protection Department reports a cost savings of $216,000 per channel mile compared with traps. The owls not only help winemakers lower their cost, they make the vineyards greener and keep the ecosystems healthier. A dignified result that reflects the majesty of the famous valley. If I was ever going to make a vineyard, right, if I was ever going to do that, I think I would definitely do it someplace where there's just an overwhelming amount of green and beauty. But I've always wanted the ideal situation of helping people and farming and giving people the potential to exist in sort of the perfect space and growing a nice, lovely garden, like a hedge maze almost, and having secret nooks and crannies and lots of flowers and things like that. Things that are kind of crazy to imagine. I love the idea of a great garden, especially one where it has its own areas of seclusion. Here's another one. Puppy siblings, adopted by different families, immediately recognize each other during walks. 1 year later, this is by Good News Network from October the 17th. Oh, what cuties. These two adorable cockapoos look a bit different now than when they were adopted by different families almost a year ago. But it was a puppy love moment recently when they ran into each other on a walk. David Kidd was out walking his 1-year-old pup Monty when he spotted another dog that looked similar. When Monty crossed paths with Rosie, they began hugging, as though being reunited, so their owner started chatting. You love it when animals reunite, me too. Susan, Rosie's mom, lives in the next village, so this was a rare moment. My husband Lee and I took Rosie for a walk one day. It was so lovely. They both just jumped and hugged each other. It was amazing. Susan Killip told Bored Panda, "It's nearly Rosie and Monty's first birthday. Hopefully we can do something to celebrate it together," Susan added. Lovely. That was a good one. Here is another one. New Jersey brothers walk to California and raise $70,000 for restaurant workers. Like that. Seeking to raise money from restaurant workers stuck at home during recent events, 20 bartenders, 2 bartending brothers, decided to make like Bilbo Baggins and walk 3,200 miles across America to raise money. Having just arrived in the sands of the Pacific Ocean, Aiden and Louis Ardeen have now completed their 5-month walkabout, which started on the Asbury Park Boardwalk in New Jersey. Oh, I've clicked something I shouldn't have. Whoops. There we go. They hope to raise $30,000 for some charities that were helping restaurant workers waiting for restrictions to end, but ended up making $70,000, which they distributed to the Cocoa Fund and the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation. Verizon heard about the endeavor and launched a donation drive in support of the Ardines, who passed through 11 states over the course of 162 days, 12,000 feet in various elevation changes, and about 80 degrees in temperature variation before the job was done. This would not have been possible without the help of a huge community of people. Whether people were donating or helping us navigate our way across the United States, Aiden Erdine told App, "This was definitely an adventure, founded in a very hopeful notion about America, and it confirmed our suspicion that people are inherently good and want to help their neighbors." Typical of cross-county trips in this nation, their voyage was characterized by stunning scenery, long roads, and helpful strangers, like a man who passed them in the searing heat of summertime Iowa before doubling back and giving them a cold Gatorade, or a Nevada campground manager who left them to stay for free. In Utah, they had what the naturalist John Muir would have described as an interview with a black bear. When rounding a corner in the trail, they found themselves within a few feet of it. When they reached San Francisco, their supporters were waiting for them on the beach. Afterwards, they flew home along with their mom, who had been there to meet them. After their adventurous sojourn, they could only imagine she was feeling proud of her sons, indeed. Lovely. I've never taken a big trip like that before, especially not on foot. Here's another one. Thousands offer to host tiny homes with homeless residents in their own Seattle backyards. By Andy Corbley from October the 18th, 2021. A pair of nonprofits are housing homeless people in tiny, sustainable homes in the backyards of charitable volunteers who decide to host them. The Seattle-born partnership hopes to replicate the cultural shift brought about by Airbnb to tackle the homelessness epidemic in the Pacific Northwest, as well as introduce concepts of sustainable housing to thousands of charitable residents who have offered their yards. After befriending a homeless resident outside of his architecture studio, Rick's Holbein transitioned his career towards helping others by starting the Block Project. Its name playing on the words for neighborhood and for the shape of the tiny houses he would pioneer. Seattle has the dual problems of expensive real estate and the third largest homeless community in the country, which led Holbein to reason that kindly neighbors could have a much better impact than waiting for a big budgeted government program. He founded Block along with Facing Homelessness. The latter would find backyards in which the former could build small, low-emission housing, and the government stepped in to make the process as legally expedient as possible. Zoning laws already allowed for accessory dwelling units to be present on existing properties, and to ensure there's no impact on property tax for those volunteering their backyards. The nonprofits signed 5-year leases for the tiny houses. Airbnb, the idea of a complete stranger staying in your house while you're sleeping. That's crazy, Holbein told Fast Company. I'm old enough to know the time before Airbnb, and that thought was just ludicrous. And now nobody thinks about it. So we believe that the same kind of cultural shift will happen with the Block Project. Facing Homelessness evaluates possible volunteers' yards to see if they fit, and they check out volunteers themselves. Then they play matchmaker and pair the house, the unhoused, and the property owners together, providing support to help the unhoused individual achieve specific goals, whether that's job training or sobriety. The first match was a slam dunk. The first tiny home owner was 74 when he first moved in, and has become such a close part of the property owner's life. It's likely he will remain there until the end of his days. The 125 square feet houses from Block Project were originally gummed up by contractors' schedules and volunteers' abilities. Now, they're modular, and the panels are prefabricated, allowing for both the manufacturing and the assembly to be much quicker. They also introduce smart systems like rainwater catching and solar panels, and come with a little bit of furniture, a hot plate, and a bed. It was important that we didn't just provide a home that was meeting shelter needs, but that it would be this advanced home, Holbein said. In fact, it would be the most forward home on the block. So far, thousands of Seattle residents have registered their properties under the Block Project, and fundraisers ensure everyone gets a welcome to the neighborhood gift bag with pots, pans, shampoo, towels, bed linens, and more. Lovely. I like to think that there are a lot of people out there who want this very thing, to offer up their land to somebody who can actually make a really good use of it. Because what? 8x8, 10x10 building. It's not so much. There's much smaller apartments in the world than that. And living in there quietly with a little hot plate and a nice bed to cozy up in. Think about how much better that is than living in the back of a van or in your car. I can only hope that one day, if I need something like this, it'll be there for me. So here's our next story. Guy schemes to give free food to anyone in Bali who brings plastic, and he's recycled 500 tons in the first year. By Andy Corbley from the 18th of this month. As recent events ground the tourism industry on Bali to a halt, a man sought to do the same to the problem of plastic pollution by offering rice in exchange for plastic garbage. The reaction was immediate and compounding, with over 500 tons of plastic collected by over 200 villages on the Indonesian island, for which the organizers have given out over 550 tons of free rice. Lovely. Bali's beaches are so beautiful. It's created an economy that derives 50% of GDP from tourism alone. But when recent events grounded airlines around the world, and Bali's principal supply of vacationers, Australia, went into protective restrictions, workers in the tourism industry had to go back to their rural villages, and plastic pollution skyrocketed. A local restaurateur wanted to do something to help, and so started a barter system to help cleanse the soul of nature and relieve the economic hardship of his neighbors. In May of 2020, he hosted the first plastic exchange in his own childhood village. I thought to myself, if it works in my village, it will work in other places as well. Maid Janarayasa, Plastic Exchange's founder, told CNN, I think his name is actually Made, I realized this thing was getting bigger than I had ever imagined. Local neighborhood groups called Banjars began organizing plastic collections once a month in the forests, towns, and on beaches, before bringing it to Yasa for their main, staple food. Bali Tribune reports that in a single 2-hour period in August of this year, a plastic exchange in the village of Sabah turned in 2 tons of plastic, and that Yasa's project was beginning to change the attitude of islanders. Now people think that plastic waste must be sorted and collected and exchanged. There are even my people who collect plastic on the streets every day, explained the director of the Sabah Banjar, Kadek Murta Angara. The most commonly turned in plastic is single-use carrier bags. Shocking when one considers the success of Bye Bye Plastic Bag, another plastic collection movement on Bali that focused exclusively on single-use bags. But plastic bottles and wrappers are also very common. People in Bali live in nature, Yasa said. Traditionally, we believe nature has a soul. People do care about the environment, but the plastic pollution in Bali is because of a lack of education and practice. Yasa works with a small company that will send all the plastic he collects to the much larger island of Java. Your NSL, the sim kitten was doing, is open. Well, lovely. Where it can be recycled, as no such infrastructure exists on Bali. The sale of that raw material allows for the buying of rice from growers on Bali, supporting the local economy. According to Yasa, picking up and recycling plastic is no longer tedious or pointless. He says it's become sexy and the cool thing to do. Long may it be so. Yeah, I'll come take a look later. Maybe if I'm still feeling okay after the stream has ended, which I'm not sure if I will be. So here's another good one. Their dream home tipped as they pulled it across the water. Then neighbors came to the rescue from October the 18th. Here's a little image from it. If a place that truly floated your boat was about to be torn down, you could try to move heaven and earth to save it. Or you could just move the house. And that's just what one determined couple did. But they didn't take an overland route. They went by sea. Danielle Penne fell in love with a 2-story biscuit box house on the shore of Newfoundland's Bay of Islands and longed to someday make it hers. It was the little greenhouse on the point that I loved. I talked about it to my friends, my family. Everybody knew that my heart always belonged to this house, Panay told TBC. When Panay learned the home had been sold this past June and was slated for the Rankers Ball, she and her boyfriend Kirk Lavelle came up with an alternative solution. Rather than demolition, the couple asked the new owners if they'd allow them to relocate the structure to a different location, and were given the go-ahead. That's some good real estate. The logistics of moving the house overland weren't in their favor. In Newfoundland, transporting various buildings across the local waterways had plenty of historical precedence. During a government-sponsored resettlement period in the 1960s through the 70s, seeing a home being hauled over the water was a fairly common sight along the coasts of Newfoundland and Labrador. But the practice goes back even further than that. My mother was born in a house that was transported from Cape Breton across the Canso straight to Mulgrave on the Nova Scotia mainland back in the 1910s. CBC reader Murray Brown noted in a comment, "That house is still standing to this day." Prior to the move, the house was stripped to its studs. The holes were drilled in the floor, allowing any water that got inside to quickly drain. Next, it was lashed to the frame and placed on a series of flotation devices, including barrels and old tires, and launched into the water for the move to its final destination in the town of McIvers, about 1 kilometer away. Guided by a small convoy of dories, the shore-to-shore journey took 8 hours. For one heart-stopping moment, the house listed, one of its corners sinking precariously into the bay. At the same time, Lovell's boat lost power. But just as it looked as if the beloved green biscuit box houseboat might go the way of the Titanic, a fleet of neighboring fisher folk with small boats swooped in to help right the precious cargo. All of a sudden, there were dories coming from everywhere, a grateful Panay told CBC. The community definitely stepped up to help us get this house over, as friends and neighbors gathered to monitor the flotilla's progress and cheer things on. Operation House Float became a true Newfoundland affair. I went to watch this unfold yesterday when we heard. I thought she was a goner for a few minutes. You should see it in its final resting place. Absolutely beautiful, amazing that people did this often years ago. CBC reader Haley Jesso proclaimed, "You followed your dreams, and I could not be happier for you," added Lori Patrick. Although the house did take on a great deal of water during its voyage, the drainage holes seemed to have done their job. Penny, Lovell, and their 6-month-old daughter, Harper, who are currently living in a trailer during the drying out and renovations, hope to be able to make their own once everything's back in shipshape. Lovely. Very lovely. We'll probably do one more before we go on our little halfway point break. By Andy Corbly, retired banker devotes his millionaire fortune to restoring protective sand dunes on island beaches. Like with spouses, some people lay their eyes on a stretch of beach and are never the same again. Fortunately for the dunes along the shoreline of Tybee Island, Georgia, they caught the eye of a rich banker with a green heart of gold, who's paying a king's ransom to create a storm-resistant living beach. Randables and beachgoers can coexist. Sea oats sway in the breeze, while ghost crabs skitter around the dunes, and kestrels hunt on the winds above. They're set among small overwalks, wind fences, dunes built up over time around coastal vegetation, which all serve to create a natural ecosystem that is also, according to Alan Robertson, the best chance his small island has of surviving storms and sea level rise. If you didn't know it was not nature, well, you wouldn't know. It was built by a bulldozer. Mr. Robertson, a former international banker who spent $15 million of his own money to restore an 8-acre beach on Tybee, involving nearly 50,000 cubic yards of sand. The rebuild was costly but necessary, as scientists hypothesize that global events will cause stronger storm surges, which has already raised sea levels around the Earth by around 1 foot. Robertson's restoration, which kindly included 2 parking lots offshore, is so successful, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration asked him to write a book of best practices for beach restoration. While some experts have said he's 6 to 7 years ahead of this country. While many coastal communities in the U.S. turn to seawalls, floodgates, flood channels, and more to stop storm surges, these have often deleterious effect of diminishing beaches, which themselves act as an excellent storm protector. Many beaches around the world, however, require regular nourishment in the form of thousands of tons of dredged sand, which tends to erode twice as fast. This is the consequence of the encroachment of civilization onto the beach ecosystem, leaving it a strip of manicured sand by removing the dunes and other aspects behind. Beach restoration is often at the center of discussion about whether to try and reinforce the coast against storms and rising oceans, or whether to simply stop building expensive infrastructure on what may become prone to regular flooding over the next 20 to 40 years. However, some scientists believe that if beaches are returned to their natural state, the worst of these effects will be avoided. The beach is a wonderful, free, natural defense against the forces of the ocean. Beaches absorb the power of the ocean waves, reducing them to a gentle swash that laps on the shoreline. Oren Pilkey, a professor of Earth and Ocean Sciences at Duke Sciences at Duke University told The Guardian. Robertson describes himself as having entered the Matrix after retiring to Tybee Island and buying a house, before immediately joining the local beach task force. Now I can't look at all this sand without seeing all the processes at work. Lovely. Okay, guys, we've got just a few more. How long is this one? This one's pretty long. We'll save this one until after we get back from the break. So we're taking a 5-minute break for me to relax for a little bit. I'll see you guys in just 5 minutes, okay? So go ahead and stand up. Find a little bit to do to shake out your limbs. Maybe get some snacks for yourself. And then head on back in 5 minutes. Because that's what I'm going to do. And we're back. I hope you guys had a lovely little break. Thank you very much. I'm going to play a little bit of music, I think. Let's see how this goes. There we go. Yeah. When I was exercising today, or yesterday, it felt really nice to exert myself and pump the iron and to push my physical limits and move further and further towards being physically fit and active. But at the same time, having not done that before, you can really feel a sense of pull on everything that you are. You can feel the things that make you up and make you have flight and strength. They're tried. I guess, like any masculine person, as is endowed by patriarchy and stereotype, I desire to have the strongest back that can hold the most burdens. But I'm only one guy, one demi-guy. And on some days, I'm just a boy. And it's a radical fear you can get sometimes. A fear of how far and moved and tired and proofed. And sometimes you can even feel a little bit at the end of it, I don't have an answer for being overworked or for being tired. I can tell you I'm definitely not burnt out, but gosh, some days, some nights, it tries real hard. And every now and again you have to take a moment to accept how tired you are and how far away you feel from your objective. But it's at times like these that you have to make the decision. The decision to keep going despite how you might feel. Because you can always go much, much further than you think you can. though I may do a little less news for the night, I'll definitely play some animal videos for you guys. Assuming you'd like that. I've got some for you right now. Oops. Here we go. A cat in a heated blanket. I'm jealous of that cat, to be honest with you. I think everybody desires to be a cat in a heated blanket, deep down. I know I do. To not be thinking about anything but the warmth surrounding you. To just lay your head down and succumb to the comfort. I desire it, you know, I definitely desire it. Oh, seeing a kitty cat. Getting bathed is nice too. It does look completely relaxed in that one. This cat, however, does not look relaxed. Very strange looking cat. Let's actually look at more of those. Let's look at more of these videos and see if we can find more. Oh, it's Jenna Marbles. We probably shouldn't watch that. I do think animals deserve to have the comforts of heated blankets. Right? The comforts of not having to struggle or strive just to be comfortable. You know, a little paw laying comfortably and small and quiet on a bed. Isn't that a lovely thing to think about? It surely sounds lovely to me. A day will come where I will have an animal and a position like this. And, I will have a little cutie who lays like this with a little paw on a heated little pad. And then you poor people will be inundated with more pictures of cats than you can ever imagine possible. There we go, sorry about that. I do love the idea of having a lot of animals that can do mass cuddles like this together. Just lying there. Nothing expected from them. Or me. Just enjoying it, Nothing expected from them. Isn't that a lovely sentiment? I do feel like one day that'll be something that I can become so involved in. I look forward to that day. It completely bewilders me, Being in that world where you want something and you aren't quite able to reach it yet. All of the avenues exist and all of the potential is there. But sometimes you are just not quite there yet. You have to work a little bit harder or try a little bit more before you can. Such a lovely idea. Certainly you'll be seeing more of my hands in the event of that. I want more heated cat, heated blanket. There we go. Here's another one. Oh. Yeah, I do have some feelings though, some feelings about animals that I do hope I get to resolve someday. But some days we do good news and some days we just look at the animal videos or cat videos or whatever. I think we'll probably go for maximum another 15 minutes of just stuff like this. Imagine having a heated blanket on top of myself and a cat on top of that, or a dog, or both. Just laying on top of me or against me, or both as well. And I'm just laying there, warm and surrounded by fluff and softness. And all these critters, are all stretched out beside me. I just love the idea. I really do love the idea. Maybe the same cat, same blanket, all getting tucked in. A cat to tuck in and a dog to lay next to them. I don't often have such struggles in my life of trying to, to make it all work and to do this stream and stuff, but every now and again it is challenging for me. Every now and again. Oh, it's a guinea pig. One more shot of the guinea pig on the heating pad. Let's see. That might be it for this one. Cat in blankets. Well, hey there. Thank you for the follow. I'm glad that you're joining us today, Naruto. Today's a pretty slow stream. But, we're hanging in there. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Yeah, welcome on in. Assuming that's actually a person and not a bot, but it's okay either way. ASMR is awkward, kinda. I don't find anything awkward about it. At least not what I do. I'm not like doing anything sultry or anything really bassy or noisy. I'm just speaking and helping people take it easy on a Saturday night. I don't think there's anything really awkward about that, but some ASMR is a little awkward, I admit. A little bit of strangeness in some of it, where it's like not completely sure where it's supposed to be. Not quite sure where it's supposed to be. But you shared your stream with, you shared my stream with your brother. Well, lovely. I do hope that he enjoys it. Let's put some more music on, just for now. What about This Strange Life? Let's try that one. But yeah, I like the idea of having a bunch of animals in my life. I mean, I go into this all the time. I think it's natural, but whenever I end up talking about it, I always mention the kind of animals I'm interested in, of course. Let's try this one. Cliffs of Aquina. There we go, that's a good one. Pigeon loses ability to fly. He adapts by becoming one of the dogs. Lovely. I need this. There we go. I think we might have seen this already, but it's okay. So, the world is full of... Oh, handsome Herman. The world is full of animals that have a dialogue with the world around them, a dialogue of kindness and desire to be held and cuddled and shared. I think the only thing missing from our world in so many ways is the logistics of getting those people that want those animals and those animals that need those people to meet. Because there are so many of both of those kinds of things that if we could, right, get them together, imagine how much happier everybody would be. As always, the steps needed to learn how to take care and the things needed to actually succeed are always important as well. But just the responsibility and the love of a tiny creature can do so much for you. And the first time I visited the animal shelter, I felt very uncertain of exactly what I was doing and why I was there, but when you hold an animal in your arms, everything becomes clear. But thank you very much for joining us, Naruto. It is things like that that make me feel a little bit more confident about this business, right? Calling it a business feels strange to me, but it is a business. And I hope that if you decide you like what you hear, that you stick around and enjoy it as long as you want to. Enjoy it as long as you want to. Because it's important to have all those moments that you can share. And this stream is all about that, sharing moments. That's a big-eyed kitty. A kitty on sale with big old eyes. Ivar, He's blind, kitty. Oh. Never had any socialization or a mom. A perpetually shocked look on his face. Oh, you know, I feel perpetually shocked sometimes too. But you know, I'm running away from the eye drops. I do that too, actually. I'm creating a new playlist actually for rest music. I'm gonna have to change the rest music I already have because it sucks by comparison to this. I'll get back to that in a second. Remove. There we go. Oh. But yeah, it's easy sometimes to not want that. For a long time, I didn't want that, to feel that vulnerability. I feel sad about that. Shocked like that cat. Vulnerability is a tough thing to manage, because to be vulnerable, you have to accept who you are and what you want and need. And it can be pretty tough sometimes. But you know, animals are always vulnerable, and gosh, they have so much need. Oh. Kind, massive eyes. Oh, that's horrible, man. It's important sometimes, though, because gosh, there have been many times in my life that I've been in need of that friendship and that kindness and that love. Certainly, there's worse things you can do than have an animal. Oh, look at her pawing. Big old eyes. I think we've got one song left before I'm gonna head to bed. Just quite sleepy myself, actually. Quite sleepy. Alright, folks. So, we've come to the end of our time. But before we do, let's listen to some awesome fretless. As always, this stream is a product of the kindness of the folks who love it and support it. So thank you so much to I Love Naruto-kun Zero, and to Third Tech Games and Anarar, our first subscriber. Also to Naruto-kun's brother, assuming they'd like to listen to this. And also to Playful, our beloved and lovely moderator. Next week, next Saturday, is the 54th episode. It is the culmination of a 1-year journey. A journey started here by me. Sure, I will play full. And, I'm scared and excited at the same time. But I hope that if I'm able to do it right, if I'm able to get there, and I'm able to make it work, then I can do this great thing. Because tonight is, a bit of a tough night, I have to admit. A real tough night. But it's not so bad. Not so bad at all. And thank everybody lurking around. And thank you to anybody who enjoys this in the future. I hope you have a lovely night. It's been great. So stay safe. And take care. I'll see you next time.